Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Mic with Mike, the premier business radio program around. I'm your host, Mike King. Appreciate you being here with us. So this is part of the Mike King Biz Radio Network, which is ESPN Richmond 106.1 every day from 5 to 7 a.m. The Choice 105.3, as well as International Business Growth Radio. You can find us. We are out there talking to the game changers. So join me as our cutting edge show. We uplift the community and showcase RVA in a different way. You know what time it is. We're kicking off Monday. We are at the Better Business Bureau. Shout out to my man Barry Moore and the whole crew here. They're out there doing business, and they're out there shouting the word about trust in business. Today we got a friend of the family back. I mean, we've been together for a long time. My man Dale Fickett is in the building. Dale, welcome back to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike. I'm really glad to be here with you. Excited.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of things going on. So I always say this is a business show. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. So first of all, big shout out to Barry. I'm really glad he asked me to come over. Better Business Bureau. I'm a big supporter. So the first thing is I work as a professor at the University of Richmond. So I teach and do research on entrepreneurship and innovation. I also lead a nonprofit here in Richmond called RVA Works, where we help more people become business owners. And then the third thing is I work as an investment advisor for people who have done well and want to know how to invest their wealth.
Dale is here with us. And how can people find you out there?
Okay, so super simple. Go to opentrellis.org. You go in, you just subscribe. You'll get all the information by email on everything will come through Open Trellis.
Considering On the Mic, Mike, we are the business radio program on a daily basis here. We talk to a lot of people.
Right.
You talk to everybody.
So
Thank you know, what's the climate for the business community out there now as opposed to, say, back when we were back over at WJFN days, a couple years back?
Yeah, so it's a difficult business environment, right? And I want to break that down a little bit. So if we look at what's going on in the economy, the first thing is we've all felt inflation, right? Gas prices went up, they've come back down a little bit, but inflation is still a big issue, particularly when we're talking about food, but also when we're talking about inputs for businesses, right? Everybody's paying more for things. The second thing is that means that business owners need to look at their own pricing, right? So they need to know when to raise prices and how much to raise prices. The third thing is labor. Even though the economy is slowing down, the labor market is still really hot. It's difficult to attract and retain good people. Then the other challenge has to do with interest rates, right? So the Fed has had to raise interest rates, understandably, because of the overheating in the prices. As the interest rates go up, that means everybody's paying more on the loans that they're servicing. So it's a difficult business environment. I'm personally excited by some of the things that I'm seeing, but I'm also cognizant. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is a difficult environment for people right now.
On the mic, Mike Dale Fickett is here with us. So you deal with people all across the spectrum.
Sure.
People have an idea and they want to take that and make magic happen. That's what you're doing there. Right. You also deal with 1 million cups.
Right.
So now people taking ideas, a business that they have, and you sort of put it into the system and people offer insight. Let's talk about RVA Works, where you are, how people get into the program and what that's all about.
Right. So just to break it down, we work with people all the time who have, they're coming to the table saying, hey, I have an idea, but I'm not sure if I should be an entrepreneur. Perfect. We want you to come into something like 1 Million Cups. It's always free, open to the public. You can come out and just meet with other entrepreneurs. You can meet me, you've come, yes. I'm there all the time. We're doing it now in the Robbins School of Business. Wednesdays, it's happening weekly, starting next Wednesday, the 7th of September. So we'll always be there in the Robbins School. No problem with parking. Just come on in. That's the first thing. The second thing is people will come and say, hey, I have an idea, but I'm not sure if this is a good one or not. What should I do? Come in, like I said, go to opentrellis.org. All you have to do is click, you subscribe, you start getting the emails, you'll get all the application information, and you can come into our accelerator program. So very simple up front. You start looking and saying, okay, I'm not sure if being an entrepreneur is a good idea for me. You come into the little half-day workshop, you go through that, understand what's involved with being a business owner. If you're still on board, then you go through the idea validation process, 4-week period. If you have your idea, it's working well, you're ready to take the next step, great. Then you go into an 8-week process with your cohort. so that you're able to get all the acumen that you need to actually build the business and to be, and to set it up so you're making sales.
One of Mike Dale is here with us. You have a number of people have gone through that program.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're big believers in it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt. Right. I mean, we have street cred.
You do.
Yeah.
Because
So, I mean,
people out there saying, I went through this program, I didn't know what I had.
right.
Everybody thinks they have something, and then sometimes it turns into something. So when you're working with them, when you look at the business people now, what's the number one thing that people are kind of short of when they come to you? Because I know people come to you, hey Dale, I got this idea.
Right.
What's a thing that you see on a regular basis that people sort of are
The number
lacking?
one thing is confidence. Everyone has an idea, right? Almost everyone has an idea that they're thinking about. They go to bed at nighttime. They're thinking about, is that something I could really do? I'm not sure. And then they lack the confidence to actually execute on it. And that's where we're trying to break that down and say, look, just take baby steps. You don't have to jump in the deep end. This is really a process you go through, see if entrepreneur lifestyle is for you. If not, maybe it's for your spouse. Maybe it's for a child in your family. Maybe it's for someone else that you know in your network. But let's kind of see if that idea has merit to it. Go through a short process, validate the idea, test it out with some customers or potential customers. And then if it's good, if it's a good one, then we get into forming the business.
So what course are you teaching out at University of Richmond?
Okay. So if I go down, so let me just back up one step, Mike, because I think this is really helpful. So when someone says, I have a business idea and I see that I need to come into something like what you all are doing with the RVA Works program, a lot of times people might say, you know what, I don't even know if that's for me. That's no problem. Come into 1 Million Cups. Just come and walk in the door and just meet with other people who are doing it.
Because
right?
There are like-minded people there.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to find yourself at 1 Million Cups.
That's right.
A person there with an idea trying to figure, is this thing going to work?
Right. And I describe it as the anti-Shark Tank, right? The Shark Tank is about what you can't do. This is about what you can do. And it's about being with people that are in your circle that are doing the same things and talking about the art of the possible.
Man, I'm gonna rip that one. I'm straight taking that one. The art of the possible.
That's right.
You don't know whether it's possible or not.
We don't know yet. No one can tell you because they're not an expert in your ideas. So what we need to do is go through a process to understand whether or not it'll work for you.
Okay, so now being in this business, I'm starting to learn about intellectual property.
Okay.
And people are always concerned about, I got a great idea, and then when I tell somebody's gonna run faster than me.
Right.
Talk about the desire for entrepreneurs to figure out how much do I need to protect this, and how much do I need to sort of figure out, will this thing work?
Right. Excellent. So we have people all the time, right, that they come in and they'll say, okay, this is what I really want to work on. I want to figure this out, but I'm also, I don't want anybody to steal my idea. No problem. I get it. I started a business. You know me. I've started a couple of different businesses along the way. So I get that. So the first thing is we got to understand when you come and talk about what you're doing, talk about what you do. Don't tell us about how you do it. I don't want this. I don't want the recipe to the secret sauce, but I do need to know that you're a chef, that you have this concept, that here's what you're looking to see if it will work, right? So tell me about what you do, not how you do it.
Okay. One of Mike Dale is out here with us. All right, so we get to the U of R class, and what exactly is that? Because everybody now wants to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
So, and it's not cut out for, it's a lot. I was a salesman for a long time. This is a whole lot more than just selling, because at the end of the week, somebody gave me a check.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot of this back end stuff that is kind of worrisome.
Right. So if someone's coming in, they say, okay, cool, I can go to 1 Million Cups. I can check out what this is all about. I can go to Dale's workshop. I can see if this lifestyle is for me. Then I can go through this process to validate the idea and to form the business, right? So that's that's like a big commitment to go through all of that. But we have so many people now. I mean, it's, now we've helped, we've had over 300 1 Million Cups, right? All different entrepreneurs coming in, right? Over 300 times that has happened. And then we also have over 100 people who have graduated from the RVA Works program. The vast majority of them, by the way, are women or minority founders. And 60% come from lower income households. So this is not something that's for the elite, right? This is for all of us who are saying, hey, I want to start up a business and I got an idea and I'm not sure if this is a good one or a bad one. So we're out there working with people from all walks of life all the time.
Does RVA Works, does it also help with things like financing and how to figure all those things up there. Everybody's always
Yeah.
worried
Yep.
about that.
Absolutely. So so if we talk about that confidence, what's behind that? First of all, knowledge and education. So that's what we're addressing. It's also about connections, and professional connections are super important. So we're addressing that. The third thing is, and you touched on, is financial capital, right? So we're practical, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if I want to build this, I have to get the right resources in place to make it happen. So we work with organizations like Kiva, Axion, and others for people to get that capital rolling in the beginning. We're also sponsored by Capital One. Tonight, actually, we have a seminar. It's free, open to the public, on improving your credit score. Why? Because when you apply for your first small business loan, people will be looking at your personal individual credit score. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's a part of the process. So we're working with Capital One to provide educational resources around that so that people can improve their credit score and so that they can reduce their interest rate costs.
As an educator, when you're talking to someone and they're in the program, what happens when you see the light comes on? Because when they get it, they're just shocked. They're wondering, how am I going to work this thing? What happens when the light comes in and you see the date? They're thinking, I may be able to do this.
Right. That's beautiful, right? That's like the epiphany moment of, oh my gosh, this is actually possible. I could do this, right? Because we have people who they're saying, well, this is my idea. And I spoke with some customers. I had to change the idea, but now I'm looking at the numbers of this and it starts getting intimidating, right? It's like, oh man, we're talking about real dollars at play here. And the big epiphany is when we go through something called the break-even analysis, right? So that's when people understand, if I sell this many, whether it's hours of service or this many products, whatever it is, then these are the costs. This is what it's going to take in order for me to cover all my costs, where I'm going to be comfortable and my costs are covered. That epiphany moment, it's like gold dust. It's awesome to see that light bulb go on.
There you go. We got the man in the building. Dale Fickett, we're coming to you from the Better Business Bureau. So the Better Business Bureau, I am here every week. We're over here talking about trust. Our man Barry Moore is out there always talking about trust in business, being an accredited business. When you're doing business, you really need to work with someone who you know inspires trust in you as well as your organization. So make sure you check out the Better Business Bureau. Dale, when you look at the economy now, not just the economy, but the ecosystem here in Richmond, it seems to be on fire.
Okay.
And what's different now than say 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question. So the first thing is that when we look at the ecosystem in Richmond, I think we have something that's really valuable, right? So a few years ago, when I looked at it, I said, you know what? We are growing and improving, right? And I think that there's more, and when you look at other cities, there's more runway to go, right? There's a lot of other things that we can do to improve it even further. But I get excited by, number one, we have a great arts and culture community around Richmond, right? Very vibrant. You go to some other cities, you don't see that. Number two, and particularly statewide, we have a lot to offer in terms of science and technology. So when we're talking about product development and we're talking about new ideas, science and technology and engineering, you know, we talk about STEM skills all the time. That community around Richmond is also really vibrant and it's growing and improving. The third thing is, I call it functions of geography, right? The fact that we are where we are means that we're in close proximity to state level policymakers because we're in the state capital, but we're also close to federal, national policymakers, right? That are pretty close by in Washington. And the other thing that's really interesting is from a logistics perspective, it's something like 60% of the US population is within a day's drive of Richmond, which is a huge value add for any logistics company. So when we talk about manufacturing and logistics, it's a no-brainer to be in Richmond for larger companies. And that also helps small businesses in the area. I think we have a long way to go in terms of improving, and I think it's going to get even better than where we are now.
Alrighty, how can people find 1 Million Cups to get the information about that?
Yeah, so 1millioncups.com/Richmond. Go and check out that site. We have all the information on how to come out to 1 Million Cups. It's going to be at the Robbins School of Business at University of Richmond. Also,
and I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
there
you're going to be
next
there,
week.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, yep. The other thing you asked me about, Mike, I wanted to touch on is the courses you asked me about the Robbins School, right? So, so I do two things. One is that I work with graduate students in the MBA program as a sponsor, mentor in terms of their capstone program, that what they're doing. And then the other is I have a couple of undergrad courses that I teach. One is called New Venture Creation. The other is Managing Innovation. So, I'm teaching what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis.
So the whole idea, innovation, so shout out to our good friends down in Richmond, they have some really cool things happening and covering the tech scene. What's hot in that world? I know a couple of years ago we talked fintech was the kind of like the hot button.
Right.
As far as technology goes right now, where are we at?
Yeah. So I think fintech is still a big deal. We're actually building a new loan fund currently. I was on the phone earlier today with some colleagues in the UK where we are looking at machine learning applied to loan underwriting data so that we make better decisions so that we can get more loans out to more people who might be hearing no from banks. And that's the whole point, is capital access, right? That's like near and dear to my heart because we're helping people start businesses, but we also know that they need capital. That's one thing. The other thing is, and I think, what they're doing down there with activation capital, with the whole life sciences area, I think is also really important. By the way, connected to that, Tom Benedetti is our first speaker at 1 Million Cups next Wednesday. He runs a venture capital fund called Blue Heron Capital that's based here in Richmond, and they're putting capital out on the street to work all the time with different med tech companies. They're in the life sciences space, drugs, diagnostics, devices. Their specialty is particularly in that life sciences space. So they're not investing in all kinds of businesses, very niche, what they do. He's going to be explaining that even more at 1 Million Cups. And then, the other thing that I think is really interesting is about automation, robotics. There's a lot that's happening around engineering. And, let me put it this way. When it comes to technology and it comes to application of technology, anything that we can do that's going to start increasing where the adoption rate is higher and faster is going to be important. The other is around supply chain. There's going to be a lot of pressure on supply chains because we're seeing that break down a little bit now. I think that's going to be even more pronounced. We're seeing that happen in terms of the energy markets because of what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. That's going to be happening even more. And so we're going to be starting seeing more of that consolidation where things are, the extraction, production, all the manufacturing, logistics is more that's going to be happening domestically. So I think anything around that space about supply chain, automation, logistics, manufacturing, I think that's going to be even more important. And then we could talk a lot about agriculture too, right? I mean, anything around the efficiency and the supply chain around food is going to be even more important. There's now technology where there's photographing different plants as they're growing and then applying different fertilizers plant by plant. Things like those sorts of technology are going to also be even more important. So think like social issue and breaking down of global supply chains, what's most important to people and how technology helps address those problems that's where it's going to be.
Really quickly, Dale Fickett on the way out. Let me ask you, as far as women and minority owned businesses, any programs out there that folks need to know about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I was just talking with people at Virginia State University earlier today, right? Some great programming there. Also, the programming that we're doing, I'm obviously a big fan of. And then, you have a lot of things through the Metro Business League. So, there's no shortage of programming for people who are really interested in it. When people come into 1 Million Cups, by the way, we always promote things that are being done by other chambers of commerce, whether it's social enterprise or it's just, business ownership and developing business owners for people who are facing different barriers. We're always, and Ian.
Yeah.
I always give Ian a shout. I give Ian a shout out every time. Ian's awesome. And so Ian pulls together all the information. So when people come to 1 Million Cups, they're getting the headlines of, okay, these are the events that are happening.
And this is where he
gives
you
go.
All the details.
Yeah.
He offers a roadmap. So I'm a big fan of the program. So 1 Million Cups, definitely give a shout out to you guys. One last time, how can people find you out there?
Okay, so go to opentrellis.org. That's a new software that we're developing. Go to opentrellis.org. And when you go in there, hit the subscribe button, put in your email address. You'll get all the information about the RVA Works program we mentioned, 1 Million Cups, all the stuff that we're developing. And it's all about helping more people become business owners.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why I got the best show around. So we rocked Chester, Richmond, Now we're out here. Shout out to my man Barry Moore and all the great folks. You need to get your business accredited. It gives you an advantage out there. People work with businesses they know and trust. Dale Fickett has his finger on the pulse. What's happening? Appreciate the time, man.
Okay,
Doug.
thanks
All
for
right,
having me.
on the
Mike.
Mike will be back. Just a moment. What?
We need to pass the Bible.
On the Mike King here at the Better Business Bureau. We'd like to thank my man Dale Fickett for coming in and talking to us. Make sure you check out and support the Better Business Bureau. They're out there. The Central Virginia Better Business Bureau, Barry Moore and his team are really doing some outstanding things. So as a business owner, they offer a ton of support for your business, conflict resolution. Also, they help you with reviews. Reviews are very important, so make sure you check them out. Mike King here. This is part of the Mike King Biz Radio Network, ESPN Richmond, The Choice 105.3, as well as International Business Growth Radio. We'll talk to you soon.